Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Reaching Higher, a podcast designed for Jewish children, where we embark on exciting journeys through interesting and enjoyable subjects. I'm your host, Atara, and together, let's jump into the wonders that await us. Welcome to our newest episode of Reaching Higher. This one will definitely not disappoint. We have an amazing lineup for today's episode, and the topic is basketball. I'd like to start off with a short story. What are the origins of basketball? Who invented it? And when was it started? Let's begin with some story time. A long time ago, in the year 1891, there was a man named Dr. James Naismith. Dr. Naismith was a teacher at a school called the International YMCA Training School, and it was in Springfield, Massachusetts. He wanted to create a new game for his students to play indoors during the cold winter months when they couldn't be outside. The students needed something fun and exciting to do to stay active and burn some energy. Dr. Naismith thought really hard about what kind of game he could invent. He wanted it to be a game that used a ball, but also something that was safe to play indoors. One day, he had a great idea. He took a soccer ball and decided to use a couple of peach baskets that he found. These peach baskets were like big buckets, and he nailed them to the balconies at each end of the gym. He wrote down 13 simple rules for the game and asked his students to give it a try to start playing. The goal of the game was to throw the soccer ball into the opponent's peach basket to score points. The students had so much fun playing this new game that they wanted to play it again and again and again. At first, every time someone scored a point, they had to climb up and get the ball out of the basket. Later, they cut a hole in the bottom of the basket so that the ball could fall through more easily. This new game became really popular, and soon people all around the world were playing it. Dr. Naismith called this new game basketball because the goal was to throw the ball into the baskets. Thank you to Dr. Naismith. Because of his creativity and because of his love for sports, we now have the amazing game of basketball that so many people enjoy playing and watching today. We now have a really special part of our podcast, an interview with Tamir Goodman. Sometimes we have fake interviews on our podcast, like when I interviewed really famous people like Moshe Rabbeinu or Ezra HaSofer. Well, this one is really the famous guy himself. Did you know that when Tamir Goodman was in high school, he was ranked the 25th best basketball player in the entire United States? He played basketball professionally in America and then in Israel. Tamir has been featured in the New York Times, on ESPN, CNN, and Fox News, and other famous news stations and TV shows. But the best part is he's now on Reaching Higher. Please join me in welcoming Tamir Goodman. Hi, Tamir. Thank you so much for coming on our show. Can you introduce yourself, tell us where you're from and where you live now?
Thank you so much for having me on the show. My name is Tamir Goodman. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and today I live in Yerushalayim.
So I guess we'll start at the beginning. Can you tell us how you first got interested in basketball and when you started playing?
Yes, I fell in love with basketball when I was 6 years old. My older brothers played. They took me to the court, and I never wanted to leave. But some very special things happened to me, which was that I loved the game so much, I already knew that I wanted to be a collegiate and professional basketball player. But because I grew up in a Jewish home and I knew that I wasn't going to play on Shabbat, I decided that I wanted to show the world that I was going to become the first person to do it without playing on Shabbat. And even though that seemed impossible, thank God I had the support of my family and my coach who believed in me and supported me and directed me. And with a lot of hard work and a lot of davening and a lot of resilience, I was able to fulfill my dream.
So, playing professional sports as a religious Jew certainly sounds like a challenge, and maybe we'll come back to that point later. But what was your biggest challenge to overcome? Or what would you say was the biggest challenge that you faced?
I think some of the challenges for me were number one, I'm dyslexic. It's very hard for me to read and write. And when you play college basketball, you need to be able to have good grades. Otherwise, you could lose your scholarship. So that was a very big challenge for me was being able to maintain my grades and try to do well in school with all my learning challenges. And at the same time, play well on the court and everything that goes into basketball. It's not just playing well. You have to sleep the right way. You have to eat the right way. You have to be mentally prepared. You have to take care of your neshama. You have to take care of your soul. Basketball is a way of life. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And when you're a basketball player, you have to do everything at 100%. And I think that was a challenge of trying to balance all that, knowing that I had those challenges, but I use them as a motivator for me to prove to everyone and to myself and make Hashem really proud that even though I had these challenges, I could still try to do well in school, which I did.
So, just to fill in our listeners a little bit about dyslexia is when your brain makes reading and spelling much harder because the letters and the words can get all mixed up. It just means you need some extra help to learn to read and write and spell like everybody else. Maybe we'll do a separate episode about that later. But for today, let's come back to challenges relating to being religious. Were there challenges with keeping kosher and keeping Shabbos?
Yes, there was challenges, but they just every time helped me prove to my teammates and my coaches how committed I was about my Judaism, and it just made them want to respect me even more. Some of the challenges included practicing on a Sarah B'Tevet, on a fast day without eating or drinking, having to get off a team bus on Friday afternoon because Shabbat was about to start and I had to walk, um, skipping the biggest game of my life because it came out on Shabbat. It was on a Friday night, but I didn't go to the game. I stayed in the hotel. And after my teammates won the game, they came to my hotel room and they told me that they won the game because of me, because of I didn't play on Shabbat. And they respected that and they wanted to honor my faith and my religion. And they used it as motivation. So my message is yes, there's challenges, but ultimately, the people that are around you, even if they're not Jewish, they will respect you more if you show Jewish pride. And that's what I learned through overcoming some of the challenges as a Jew in my basketball career. So I don't think that Judaism was like a something that took me away from my goals. It just showed me how to reach my goals in a more meaningful way while inspiring as many people as possible.
I could imagine facing such a challenge could be difficult, but how did you actually get through it? What was your support system like? Who helped you through it? Was your family supportive?
Yes, I would have never been able to do this without the support of my family. My Savta was a Holocaust survivor. She was very supportive of me. My father, blessed memory, was very supportive. My mother, even though she didn't know anything about basketball, was very supportive of me. They always said, go make a Kiddush Hashem through basketball. That's your mission. And that's what I tried to do. And the Torah teaches us that we should make for ourselves a mentor, make for ourselves a rabbi. And I had that with my coach, and I still have that with my coach. So surround yourself like just like my coach. He always believed in me more than I believed in myself. He never let me settle. He always pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. And he was always there to listen to me when I had something to talk about. And he was always full of unconditional love and support and guidance, and that really helped me and helps me in my life. So the Torah is telling us the right thing. Even if you're at a young age, try to find for yourself a mentor, someone that could help you reach your potential.
Okay, so let's get this straight. You're playing at a professional level. So, can you share a little bit for us about how your nerves came into play and how they played a role? How different is it to shoot a foul shot in practice compared to shooting it in a real game with scouts and the whole stadium and everybody watching you?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It depends on your preparation. If you prepare a lot in practice, there's something called muscle memory. It usually takes 1,000 shots to create muscle memory. So every player has to choose their muscle memory. Every player has their own method of practice for the free throw line. Some people it's one dribble, some people it's two dribbles. It doesn't matter what your method is, as long as you continuously practice the same way, the right way, every single shot, and then your brain and your body it becomes muscle memory, and therefore in the games you won't be nervous because the muscle memory will take over. So if you don't really prepare well and you don't have the muscle memory, most likely you'll be really nervous during a game for a free throw. But if you prepared well, Your muscle memory should be able to keep you calm and relaxed at the free throw line, even under very pressured situations.
I love that lesson, Tamir, because if you practice enough and you train your muscles, then you can overcome even the most nerve wracking, the most challenging, the hardest situations. And that's a really important point for our listeners, too, because maybe they're not playing professional sports with thousands of people watching them, but they could be doing a school play or playing basketball or baseball or a soccer game that first it's with their friends, but then all the parents come. And that could also make people really nervous. So, if we practice enough, we could actually train our bodies to overcome those nerves. This is a great lesson. Are there also other lessons that you learned from basketball that you could apply to your life and we could apply to our lives?
Yes. So the main stance in basketball is called the triple threat. When we catch the ball, it's like how we pass and how we dribble and how we shoot. So we'll talk about a lesson from each one. When we pass the ball, we always throw a lead pass. We never throw the ball to the player behind them because it'll stop their momentum when they get the ball and allow the defense to catch up, and then the defense could stop them or block them or steal the ball. So we always throw them a lead pass. We throw the ball to where they're going to be, not where they are now, especially on a fast break. And this teaches us in life with our friends. We always want to like lead our friends in the right direction, put our friends in the best situation to succeed. We never want to give them a pass or symbolically like slow them down or bring them back from reaching their potential. Dribbling, the key to dribbling is to stay low and grounded. The lower we are, the quicker we are, the more explosive we are, the harder it is for the defense to steal the ball from us. And that's represented by being grounded, being humble, practicing humility, and understanding your identity, your roots. And the more humble a person is, the more grounded, the more strong and proud they are of their identity, the harder it will be for people to steal the ball from them, which means symbolically knock you over, or you don't want society to dictate what you can or cannot do. You want to be able to dictate what you can or cannot do in this world. And the more someone knows who they are, the more they can accomplish that while inspiring those around them. And then finally, shooting, like when you be a great shooter, you have to follow through. Like when you follow through, it helps the ball go in and gives the ball more power and backspin to drop in through the rim. This represents like in life, like following through, like doing every single thing you say you're going to do, like action, not just talk about it. Like if we say we're going to go do something, we should go ahead and actually physically do it. And when we like physically do that, we better the world around us. And just like in basketball, the follow through helps the ball go in. Same thing for us in life. Like Kamase, like when we actually do the action itself, the mitzvah itself, it creates like a great energy in the world.
These are really awesome tips for life, Tamir. So thank you so much for sharing them and making them so relatable through the lens of basketball, leading our friends forward, showing humility, and always following through. Could you tell us what you've been doing since you retired from professional basketball?
Since retiring from professional basketball, I do a lot of coaching. I have a camp that's coming up here in July. I'm involved in sports tech, a lot of innovation and inventions and technology, sports startups in the sports space. I have a children's book coming out around the time of the Chagim, and I have a movie coming out about my life. And I've been very blessed that Hashem gave me the best wife and 5 kids. So I'm busy with them and try to be the best father and husband that I could be as well.
We talked a little bit about the dynamic with other players. Could we talk for a little bit about sportsmanship? In my house, we always stress the importance of sportsmanship and how it's more important than winning the actual game, playing with respect and having good midot. But I feel like when we watch professional sports, then we don't always see that coming into fruition. We don't really see that in reality. What was your experience with sportsmanship when you were playing professionally?
Yeah, I agree because sportsmanship in the long run actually does lead to a win. You have to look at the big picture. There's been so many times in my life that even if I lost a specific game, but if I had good sportsmanship, later on it circled back around because you establish yourself with a good reputation and a hard worker, people find out about that. And other teams are going to want to pick you up, even if you lost this specific game. But you have that reputation a year from now, 2 years from now, you're still that reputation goes well beyond the game. So when you want to get jobs later in life or whatever you're involved in, you always want to be known as a person that's like kind and hardworking and pleasant to be around because it helps you in the long term of winning in life, not just a specific game. So if you're watching a game and you see a bad example of sportsmanship and that team actually still wins and you could say, hey, they won without good sportsmanship. Yeah, maybe they won that one specific game, but most likely they're not putting themselves in a situation to win in life in general. And it's more important to win in life in general because that's the biggest game.
Thank you, Tamir. Thank you so much for all these life lessons that you have shared with us. Before we leave off, we have some rapid fire questions. First one, can you dunk?
I stopped dunking after my knee surgery. I did it one more time when I turned 40, just for my kids. So that was probably going to be my last dunk. But if I really, 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 really had to, I would probably still do it. But I don't think my doctor would be too happy, so I'm not going to do it.
Question 2, how many points was the most you ever scored in a game?
53.
Next question, who would you say is your favorite basketball player and your favorite team?
I can't say one. I just love too many. I just love the game so much. I love so many teams, so many players, and I'll tell you, like, I know it's supposed to be rapid fire, but something that I've always loved with my life. Like, there was a great rabbi that said we have one mouth and we have one nose, and then we have two eyes. So why don't Hashem give us one eye if the rest of our face only has like one mouth, one nose? And the answer is because we have our right eye, which is always to see the positive in everyone and everything, and the left eye is for us to like look at ourselves and like how we could better ourselves. And I kind of like trained myself to like see so many players and so many teams. And like when I watch, I'm like, oh, what a great player, what a great player, what a great team, what a great team. So it's like I've fallen in love with so many teams and so many players. It's hard for me to like narrow it down to one because of the way that I grew up ever since I heard that little message from the rabbi.
Thank you so much for sharing that story with us and answering all of our questions. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Batzlachat, everybody.
Welcome to Basketball Blitz, Basketball Trivia. We have now for you ready 8 questions, 8 trivia questions about the game of basketball. How many do you think you can get right? Here we go. Question number 1. What is the name of the violation when a player takes more than 2 steps without dribbling the ball? Correct. The answer is traveling. Question number 2. How long is an NBA regulation basketball game? Great job. The answer is 48 minutes. There are 4 12-minute quarters. So 4 times 12 is 48. Question number 3. What is the height of a regular basketball hoop from the ground? You got it. It's 10 feet high. Question number 4. How many points is a free throw or a foul shot worth in basketball? 1 point. Good work. Question number 5. What is the term used when a player dribbles the ball, stops, holds the ball, and then starts dribbling again? Good work. That's called a double dribble. Question number 6. In basketball, what is the maximum number of personal fouls a player can commit before being disqualified, being kicked out from the game? You got it right. You better be careful. A player can't have more than 6 fouls. Question number 7. How many players from each team are on the court at the same time in a regular game? Good work. Each team sends 5 players to the court. Question number 8. What is the term for a pass that leads directly to a scored basket? Awesome job. The answer is an assist. We hope you enjoyed Basketball Blitz Basketball Trivia. You can add up your points and see how well you did. There were 8 questions, and each question is worth 2 points for a total of 16 points. How many points did you get? We hope you did well. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of Reaching Higher. We hope you learned something new in our Basketball Blitz trivia, unless you knew it all already. Tamir Goodman's lessons from his basketball career were so applicable to our daily lives, so we hope you remember some of those lessons in the future. And we hope you found it interesting how basketball was started in the late 1800s with a soccer ball and a peach basket. If you enjoyed our episode, ask your mom or dad to send it to a friend that might enjoy it too. We can't wait to see you on next week's episode of Reaching Higher.